Like I say, I told the story before, all these stories before, but I want to say it again. Here's a nice story, surprising story. the the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe had a very turbulent life, and when he was in Stalin's Russia, that was right in the beginning of communism, when communism was really setting in, and it became anti-religion, tremendously anti-religion. And of course, he was a great religious leader. And Judaism is a thing you don't just keep in the synagogue. It's kept all the time, and you have to learn Torah, and you have, especially teaching the children, and providing mikvahs for women and kosher food for kosher meat. You had to have people that are shochatim, they knew how to slaughter ritually. So Judaism is a thing that's pretty hard to normalize, and the camouflage without leaving some of the commandments. And that didn't come in any way. It was not negotiable. That to lesson learning Torah, lesson learning the commandments, and not to have mikvahs for women, not to all these things, therefore came with tremendous self-sacrifice. Tremendous self-sacrifice. Well, the Rebbe eventually was put into prison by the communist government, sentenced to death, and miraculously he was released in 1927. And then he went to Riga, Latvia, and most of the time he was in Warsaw. But there were Chassidim in Warsaw that they saw the impending disaster, what was happening, and they wanted to leave. It wasn't so easy to leave Warsaw. But the Germans attacked. That's how World War II basically began, was when they attacked Poland. The Germans attacked Poland. And then afterwards, they attacked France, and they attacked Poland. This was, I'm not sure, but I'm almost sure that this was like almost immediately after that. After that. The Rebbe was in Poland. Could it be? One second. Give me a second. Give me a moment over there. Give me a moment. Let me think about something. Let me think about something. No. It could be that this was when the Rebbe was already in America. Really. The Rebbe in 1940, when they bombed Warsaw, so the Rebbe escaped from Warsaw and he made it to America. That's the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. When he arrived in America, he was already sick. He was already paralyzed. A few months afterwards, the Rebbe, our Rebbe, he got out with his wife, who's the daughter of the previous Rebbe. They got out. Okay, the story goes like this. This is the story. Every day, the previous Rebbe would, a nurse would come and give him a shot. A shot. And one day the nurse came and found that he was like in a catatonic state. He was sitting with his eyes like all glassy, and he was just sitting up. And it seemed like wasn't sure if he was even alive. She took his pulse and she saw he was alive, but he was obviously in some sort of a coma or deeply unconscious. So they didn't know what to do. And they called the previous Rebbe's wife. And it happened to be that the Rebbe, our Rebbe, he was the previous Rebbe's son-in-law, right? He was passing by, or he was nearby. Anyways, she called him. The previous Rebbe's wife, called our Rebbe in to see what was going on. The Rebbe was only the son-in-law. He wasn't a Rebbe yet. So everybody was all worried. They didn't know what to do. What should we do? Should we take him to the hospital? So the Rebbe looked at him for a little bit, and he saw that the previous Rebbe was saying something. So he put his ear next to the previous Rebbe's mouth. And he smiled. He says, it's okay. He's just saying, Az Yashir Moshe in Israel. He's singing the song that the Jews sang when they crossed over Yam Suf, when they crossed over the sea. We say it every day in our prayers. He's saying that. He's saying it over and over again. He's saying it. So the Rebbe said it was okay, and it was okay. So he said, the Rebbe is all right. And they left him. After 15, 20 minutes of this, the Rebbe opened up his eyes and he just continued the previous Rebbe. No problem. So no one really understood what was going on. No one understood what was going on. And years later, the Rebbe, I think this was even when the Rebbe went to take his mother from France. His mother got out of Russia, and he went to take her from France. I think it was 1947, I think it was. Take her, he wasn't Rebbe yet. And he escorted his mother from France to America. She lived in America with him, with nearby the Rebbe. But so when he was there, he made in France, we made some farbrengens. And when he was there, one of the Chassidim told the story. I don't remember if it was the Rebbe told this story I just told you about the Frierdiker Rebbe being unconscious, or this Chassid told his story first. But let's say the story of this Chassid. The Chassid said that they at one time wanted to run away from Poland. This was in the middle of when the war was going on. They wanted to run away from Poland, and they wanted to, but they had a lot of borders that they had to cross over. They wanted to get out of Poland. The previous Rebbe was already in America, so they wrote a letter to him, and he gave a blessing that they would succeed. So they said, what happened? There were 5 of them that wanted to leave Poland, which meant they had to cross over all these different borders and things like that, but they only had 4 passports. So what they did was they went through the passport check, and the first guy, he passed his passport backwards to the second, who passed it back, so that it ended up that the 5th one to go through, he had the same passport as the first person, hoping that the one who did the checking wouldn't notice, or maybe they went to somebody else checking. How they noticed the stamp or whatever, I don't know, but that's what they did. And it worked. And when they were on trains, they would also go and check the passports, but the trains weren't so much of a problem because one that didn't have the passport would lay down on the bench and the others would sit on top of him and put their coats on him so that you wouldn't see him. Okay, but finally they came to one border, which was like German border, or it was where the German soldiers were. And they were really worried because at this place, they would take people that didn't have proper passports or didn't have passports, and they would take them off to the side and shoot them on the spot. So they were tremendously worried about what this was. And so they went through, when they were going through, something caught the attention of the guard that was stamping the passports. He got a phone call or whatever, and he just was talking to somebody else, and everybody went through, he just looked briefly and he stamped. And he didn't look at anything. So the 5th person, when he went through, he had the same passport as the first person, but he didn't check. He just stamped and told everybody to go. So I said it was an amazing miracle because they were so afraid. They were shooting people before and after. So the Rebbe said, when was this? So they told him a date. They said, what time was it? They gave him a time. So the Rebbe made a calculation, and he said that was exactly the time that the previous Rebbe was in this out-of-world state saying Az Yashir. He must have sensed that you were going across this border, and he said this prayer of Az Yashir over and over again in order that there should be some sort of a miracle to get you over the border. At the precise time when you were at this dangerous spot, as the Rebbe was saying, Az Yashir, to take away the danger. So we see from the story that the Rebbes see everywhere. They're not limited to time, they're not limited to place. And even more, they could see, that's one thing, but they were able to actually help physically and take us out of danger, just like Moses took the Jewish people out of danger. So, and this shows a little tiny bit the tip of the iceberg of the effect that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, or in general, that the Rebbe's have on the world, helping and saving the Jewish people. Have a good day with Mashiach now. See you all, God willing, tomorrow. One second. Listen to what I'm saying now. Tomorrow, okay, hopefully tomorrow though. I have to take my wife to someplace, but it's very nearby, and it could be that I'll be back. So, no, the class should start on time, 8:15, God willing, 8:15. See you tomorrow. Shalom.